Our next panelist is Officer Aysha Khawar. It is my pleasure to introduce Officer Aysha Khawar, a trailblazer in law enforcement. A proud Pakistani Muslim, Aysha has dedicated the past 5 years to serving in various law enforcement roles. In February 2024, she made history by joining the Toronto Police Service as a police constable, becoming the first Muslim hijab-wearing officer in the force.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Constable Khawar. My first name is Aysha. First of all, thank you, MP Zahid, for having me here today. Just a little bit about me. I am originally from Pakistan, was raised in Canada. I come from a family of just girls. We're 3 sisters, and I'll go into detail about how I've come along being a police officer from a South Asian family household. Thank you, guys. From a household of all females and a South Asian background and a faith of Muslim, I grew up in a household where it was women always are suppressed. Women can't voice their opinion. So I knew growing up that by the age of 18, I'm past 18, I'll probably be married and living the life that my mom lived, which was a housewife. But I knew that my mom had immigrated from Pakistan to Canada to give her daughters a good life. So I knew I had to do something there. But being in a household where there was a fear of police officers, there was occurrences where we always needed help. Police officer would show up and nobody was able to help us. That was the day when I saw my mom's face, bloodshot red, not knowing how to speak English. Police officers weren't able to help her and they left. That was the day, 6 years old, I knew that I want to be that voice, what my mom has gone through. And today, I would say that I've come a long way. So it was a hard battle for sure. Number one, it started off, my dad was not supportive of this idea of being a police officer. But I knew it's a very challenging job, and it being a male-dominant job, coming from a South Asian household and from Pakistan, my parents had a very disgusting image of police officers. So that was instilled in me. It was, police officers aren't good, you can't talk to them, they're intimidating. I remember going outside, if I saw a police car, and I'm sure we all see a police car, and we're all just like, oh my God, what's gonna happen now? Yeah, I grew up even in a worse state of that. I remember my mom would, you don't look at a police officer, it's a man, you don't look that way, what if he does anything, or what if he questions what you're doing? And that was the day when I realized, I wanna change that. I wanna be in that uniform that that man's wearing. I want to show my family that just because I'm a female doesn't put me any less than a man. I know my dad was always I come from a very sheltered household, very overprotective father who never let us go outside, never let us explore anything. Every time I spoke about, I want to go into law enforcement, I want to be the man that's standing out there, he's like, no, you're a female, you can't do that. And they said, well, I'm going to have to do that because I want to see what the challenge is. And then it became, okay, well, you're gonna have to work out. You're gonna have to be strong. And I was like, I can do that. It took me about 3 years to build up the strength, physically, mentally, and emotionally, to say, I wanna step into a police station and start my job. So I can go back about 5 years. I took a flight to a place called Fort Frances, Ontario. Didn't know where I was going. Nobody knew where I was going. All I knew that I'm going to a police station. The Ontario Provincial Police is where I started off. And when I got that first phone call, it was, do you know where we are located? They said, I know you're very far. And they said, are you sure you're gonna come? And I'm like, I'm coming. Booked a flight, and I ended up in Fort Frances, Ontario, not knowing where it was. Didn't tell my parents that I was doing this. Told them the day before my flight that I'm leaving and going to go work at a police station. They were traumatized. They were like, you can't do this. And I said, this is a step that I have to take. Long story short, today I would say nobody's more proud than my parents. My mom, she says she's going to support me throughout the 5 years that took me to 2024 February to become a police officer. My father tells his friends, his families today, tell your daughters to become a police officer. It's a great profession. My dad was always scared of a police officer. So was my mom. Today, when they see a police officer, they start to have conversations saying, our daughter wears a uniform that you're wearing, and we're very proud. Although I work in a very male-dominant organization, I can assure that my parents, especially coming from a very overprotective household, I think my parents have never feared my safety today. And I would give that credit to me for sure, and that's because I've changed that mindset of police officers aren't bad. Working in a male-dominant role is not bad. You just have to put your foot forward and not give up. Then I'm gonna go towards college and university. And it's sad to say this, it's proud to say today, but it was sad at the time. When my guidance counselor said, I don't think so, you should be studying criminology, you should be doing early childhood education. Oh. And I said, no, I can't, that's not for me. And she says, I really highly recommend you won't be able to pass criminology. And I said, and of course I cried because I was like, she's telling me that I can't do what I want to do, and I have a purpose to fulfill. I want to be that voice for those women that can't speak English, that fear men, that fear police officers, and I pushed through. And I'm sure she's probably seen me on social media already, and she's like, oh, that's the officer now. And I say I'm very proud of myself where I've come from. It took quite some time, but it's just pushing through. You need that one support system. If you don't have that one support system, you have to become that one for yourself. When I took that flight to Fort Frances, I didn't have anybody, but I knew that I can't turn back because I know I had to prove to my father, just because you have daughters, no, we're no less than a man. And today, I would say that my dad does say, I'm the son of the family. And it makes me proud walking out knowing that my dad is proud, my mom's proud.
Excellent.
That's my story.
Excellent.
I would say it's hard to reach out, as you said, MP said, she's willing to be a mentor for others. If you feel that you're able to learn something from somebody, ask the question. There's no harm in asking. The most somebody would say is, I don't know the answer, and then you can say, how about you get me the answer? And the least they'd say is, I don't want to help. Well, then you go to somebody else. I would just say, ask for help. Ask if you want to do something and you don't know how to do it, just ask. That was one thing that I struggled with and I had to figure out on my own. Now today, when I see girls or females that are at the gym and they go, okay, what are you training for? Well, I go, I'm a police officer. I go, well, how'd you get in there? I'm like, okay, let's talk. Take my number and meet me and we'll talk. It's because I know the struggle that I had of guiding myself. I would just say, don't ever hesitate to ask for help. Don't ever hesitate.
Excellent.